Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Fallout or Fallout 1. Um, this is a weird situation, certainly for gamers and me in person, in uh, specific, because I've never played Fallout 1. I never played Fallout 2. Then Bethesda bought out the Fallout franchise from the people who owned it. And I'm not even sure if the same people that made Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 are the same. I think they were different. So you have this situation, which will become more prevalent as time goes on, where you have a game series that is created by completely different people. In Fallout's case, Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 is completely different in 3D compared to Fallout 1 and 2, and there's another Fallout game. We'll let the intro play as I talk here. So it creates this question that I think a lot of people will eventually lean into the idea of the answer being no, you don't really need to play the first game in a lot of series because they're just so old and they're built around old gameplay styles. Like, this is somewhere in the late 1990s. It's copyright 1997 Fallout 1, compared to, say, even Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, which was yet another game that was made by a different company. And arguably, Fallout New Vegas is the one that most people like. So, of all the Fallout games, if you only want to pick one, you should probably play New Vegas. But I want to give this a chance, certainly. I own this game. I knew I was going to at least spotlight it. That's as much as I can promise here, is that I will try to play this game. But I wouldn't be surprised, and I want to be just as honest and upfront about this. I wouldn't be surprised if this turns out to be a fairly boring, just too old for its own good experience. Now, arguably, now that Microsoft has acquired Bethesda, a full-on remake of Fallout 1 story might make some sense. It also might make some sense to have a return to the top-down 2D animation style.
Spain built an empire from its lust for gold.
This intro is pretty much the same for every game, although this one is actually more explicit in what it's saying, because by the time you're at like Fallout 4, it's just war never changes. That's the only thing that's said.
Only this time, the spoils of war were also its weapons: petroleum and uranium.
I will say I have a high-resolution patch, and in the files of the Steam version of Fallout, there is a Fallout HR and a Fallout Res configuration. So I've got this at 1080p with the interface doubling the pixels, which would mean every square pixel is not 2 pixels, but actually 2 by 2 pixels. That on top of the high resolution patch does make this fairly readable from 10 feet away, which I'm looking at a TV about 10 feet away. I've turned on the subtitles. I don't think I've really changed any other settings visually, but I've also gone into this and lowered the difficulty, and we'll show all the settings just to be certain on that. Like, I don't want a high combat difficulty. This is a mouse and maybe keyboard game. That certainly could also affect how much I want to really play this. It's just the fact that it doesn't have controller settings. So, like, if there's any chance of getting to the end of this game, which this game is only about 30 hours, but from what I've heard, Fallout 2 is about 60 hours, and bump it up to about 300 hours by the time you're at Fallout 3 if you want to do everything. Of course, the story that I always tell about my first experience in playing Fallout 3 is that I accidentally beat the main story and had only played half of the map. And so after I had beaten the main story, I just lost interest. And that's pretty much what I'm going for now, only intentionally this time, is to have an accelerated experience, just to say I've played Fallout 1 once in my life. And I think that's how most people would play this if you're going to play it all. So yeah, game difficulty is on easy. Combat difficulty is on wimpy. I've looked up a guide as far as the stats. Apparently there was also a time limit of 500 days originally if you don't have a patch installed, so upgrade to the patch. Not going to language filter anything. You could potentially choose to go with always running. I don't know if there's a stamina bar that would drain though. And I've turned on the subtitles, and that's all I've done. It is worth mentioning, you have to click on the actual buttons, which is a little weird, that the screen settings in-game are a little bit different than the resolution things. Otherwise, I might find that some of these panel scaling things here should be in fill mode instead of fit mode, or just turned off. But since I don't know by default what those are, let's leave it at that. And that's funny, it did jumps to the intro again. But yeah, we're going to just try and power through Fallout 1 and see if we can get all the way through. I wouldn't even be surprised if we actually make it all the way through the main story part of Fallout 1 while missing a lot of either random encounters, which I think there are random encounters in Fallout 1 compared to all Fallout 2, or most of the story encounters. Arguably, even in Fallout 3, there is a lot of places you can go, but then there's kind of nothing you can do. And it's kind of deceptive because you'll start the game with some talking heads in Fallout 1 and 2, but there's actually only about 6 talking heads, and then there's a ridiculous amount of just text that you have to read for every other character. Okay. So, you could just start here. And arguably this is a little bit small to read, but also you shouldn't be really playing PC games like this from 10 feet away. It's not a couch experience. But yeah. There is a guide on the Steam forums, and what they're saying to do is to modify your stats this way. So instead of a strength of 10, which is pretty much just randomized, I guess, to that, it's saying you should go down to a strength of 4. Because you pretty much don't ever notice a difference, according to this walkthrough. And as far as an endurance, these are out of order. I don't know why. It's supposed to spell special, SPCIAL, and then in the walkthrough they didn't spell it that way. Wow, interesting. So perception, they're saying, should be at 7. Of course, TENHNGK doesn't spell anything. So, yeah, perception, very good. This will, I assume, help us target and shoot people, because this is mostly a gun experience. Now, arguably, this walkthrough does specifically say if you're not going for a walkthrough where you're going to use guns, then maybe you do want strength, or maybe you want something different. Endurance, they're saying turn it down to 5. But see, it's not until you even click on these that it changes what this description is, and you'd have to really read this to know. to know what you're doing. This is a classic example of a bad way to start a game in which they're just throwing a whole bunch of stats to you. This is very much coming from the argument of a Dungeons and Dragons perspective instead of a video game perspective where video games were new. Charisma, it says to give 5. Agility, it says to go down to 6. Luck, it says go up to 6. And then intelligence says go up to 7. Which means something weird because I have like 2 character points still. Let's see, strength 4, this 7, endurance 5, charisma 5, intelligence 7, agility 6. And then luck 6. Notice that definitely is different hit points. Let's go ahead and go with a female character, just because people never play a female character. 23 sounds as good as any other number. And I don't really want to change a name, so we'll just stick with Max Stone for a female character. Well, I guess we'll have to we'll have to see if maybe some of these other character points play a role later, or if maybe there's some reason why I have extra character points. As far as the skill tree, which is just way too much on this, it says get small guns above all else. Then it says get gambling, which I guess means probably want to unclick this and unclick this. Gambling, get your gambling over 75% with good luck, and you'll never have to worry about money ever, which is kind of great in general. And then the last is a toss-up between energy weapons and speech. Speech is always good to have, but energy weapons is a necessity a lot sooner than you think. A tag helps a lot to be proficient in their use earlier. Which, okay. I think I will pick speech just because in particular I would prefer to be able to talk my way out of some situations. I don't know how much that really is going to play. There is a lot of indication here that you should potentially go with energy weapons. As for traits, it says, see, I will definitely point out that this is where you really ruin your first playthrough experience by using a walkthrough, but a game this old, you basically need it. Like, this probably, or something, some suggested build should be your default suggested build always. But yeah, maybe because I'm on easy, I get 2 more character points, which, yeah, maybe we put that in intelligence to just have us skill up and level up as fast as possible, or maybe we put it in charisma. We'll have to look at that and see. So I imagine if our gambling is at 71% here, and then I go up like that, you can see it goes up to 75%. So you are adjusting these percentages based on these base points. So gifted is a must because it gives you +1 to all attributes at a small penalty of your skills, minus 10% to all skills, minus 4 points per level. You only get up to like level 21 in this game from what the walkthrough says. Says don't pick skilled as far as the other traits. Otherwise you can pick whatever you want, except for bloody mess. Having one perk for every 4 levels is not worth it, and that would be skilled. Now this walkthrough does basically walk you through the entirety of the experience, but I'm not going to follow it as far as the setup. Do we have to use optional traits? I mean, because it kind of seems like, well, you can have 2. And maybe you have to have 2. Good-natured. Combat skills start at a lower level. That doesn't sound good. Right. Your body heals faster, but you're less resistant to radiation. A little slower. Never slowed you down. One-hand dominance. More critical hits. One less action point to shoot is probably a good one to choose. Interesting. Night person, if it didn't dull your abilities during the day, I think I might have considered that. But yeah, I think we go with fast shot and gifted. Yeah, there seems to be really no downside from fast shot. Okay. And I think knowledge and wisdom is the ability to think quickly. A high intelligence is important for any character. Modifies the number of new skill points per level, dialogue options, and many skills. So yeah, it seems like you just go with a heroic level of intelligence. You can't go above 10, so yeah. Just start with the highest intelligence. And the truth is, that's pretty much interesting. You can save or print a file. Let's just go ahead and save that now. That's pretty much how you'd start any RPG game. Notably, this is an RPG game, but it is definitely closer to a Dungeons & Dragons tabletop RPG experience. Boy, does that not look good by
We've
modern
got a
problem.
problem. A big
It's not terrible,
The
but
controller chip for our water purification system has given up the ghost. Can't make another one, and the process is too complicated for a workaround system. Simply put, we're running out of drinking water. No water, no vault. This is crucial to our survival. And frankly, I think you're the only hope we have. You need to go find us another controller chip. We estimate we have 4 to 5 months before the vault runs out of water. We need that chip. We marked your map with the location of another vault. Not a bad place to start, I think. Look, just be safe. Okay?
it probably wouldn't be too hard to use the Fallout 4 technology and remake Fallout 1. In particular, actually get away from the Bethesda engine and try and use something like the Unreal Engine to remake Fallout 1. Now that Microsoft owns Bethesda, I don't think there's a lot of reason to stick with the Bethesda engine, which has not been a particularly well maintained engine in my opinion. Every Fallout game and every Bethesda game in general tends to be particularly buggy and centers a lot around just expecting fans of Bethesda games to fix the bugs in the game for them. So there's this rat here, and this is basically your tutorial that you're leaving me with. And they have told me absolutely nothing. And you have a whole bunch of interfaces here. So, do we need to arm this? I don't even know what this is. You can see you have to like scroll down things. I'm just gonna see if any of these things happen to be armor. And this is one of those cases where you could say read the manual, but in modern time, does anybody have a manual? Did the game pop up a manual or give us an option for a manual? The walkthrough does say to just save. All the time. Seems like I have managed to equip a gun. Although, do I really want to use a gun to fight a rat and use bullets? Because bullets are probably fairly low. Okay. We've got a map, which just generally just shows you about how big this cave is going to be. And apparently the high switch here lights up a few dots. I don't know what those dots are all about. We don't have a motion scanner installed. Here's our character screen at level 1. And you can see there's a karma system and a kill system, and killing in general is not going to affect anything. As far as your karma in general, it will affect things when you kill specific people. You're so zoomed out that you could tell me this is a male or a female, and I wouldn't be able to tell. And then you have your iconic Pip-Boy 2000, first version of this. In a lot of ways, looks like there might be something here we can right click on. you have to right click and then left click. And one of the recommendations is also to not specifically go crazy on looting people and trying to sell things. Okay. I had to right click to get out of a mode. Let's see. So if you get an X, let's see. So anywhere you right click, you are getting these prompts down at the bottom, and I wasn't even recognizing that. Okay. There is a slightly different beginning here compared to Fallout 3, in which like, ooh, there's all kinds of rats. And apparently that means we're now just in straight up combat mode. With the rats all over. And how close do you have to be though to get in range? You have to be like right on top of them. And what is our, like, we're barely hitting things. There's no meat or anything around that. Yeah, so is it really worth it to grind? Yeah, we got like 50 experiments there. I mean 50 experience. Man, this just does not control well. Though. Like, I don't know if I'm actually even going to make it outside of this cave. Let's ask if WASD works. No. I just hit S and it brought up the skills. Which is its own other thing. And the arrow keys is obviously moving the map around and centering. I wouldn't particularly call Diablo, like, I keep expecting to pan or be able to pan with even like the middle mouse button and it doesn't do anything. Like Diablo 1's interface, I don't think is particularly groundbreaking or anything, but it definitely is way faster than what we see here. What if we were to toggle running always? And it's saying like they said save after every fight, but I think that might work somewhat, but I don't know if this really is gonna work. Like, it's not centering on the character when I move. And you see there's just a ton of dialogue here that would be voice acted otherwise. That's not a skeleton? And you just travel, I guess. So it seems like the wasteland is pretty much non-existent in Fallout 1. Where that is most of where the grinding would have been. Let's see. Came across traveling merchants and guards. Okay. Well then, can we... communicate with people? Well, hello, Wanderer. My name's Duck. I'm headed into Shady Sands to do some trading. Perhaps I can interest you in some goods. What do you have for sale? Let me show you. He's got something that I don't know. It's a fruit. 18 millimeter ammo versus 18 millimeter JHP versus AP. I don't know what a JHP or FMJ stand for. That's a stim pack. That's a health kit. And bottle caps. And so do I have anything that I'd even want to sell? A tool. Or a water flask. Yeah, I have like nothing to sell. And let's see, tell me about... Wow, you could just type in things? Yeah, I don't feel like there's a game here. As much as silly as that to say, it's just too old. Let's go back this way and see if there's anything we can find. Welcome to Shady Sands. Please holster your weapon while you're here. Did I really holster things, or like... Yeah, there's a lot of people you could talk to, but you'd have to do a lot of reading. And as someone who's been trying to cover some visual novels more recently, last thing I want to do is play a game that requires a lot of reading. I can certainly see why Fallout 3 was such a groundbreaking evolution to this series, because, yeah, the interfaces are rough. The resolution is rough on modern computers. It seems like you would have to really struggle. This guy wants to say hi. Like, really struggle through the interface to play this. And without the nostalgia that people probably have who have played this in the past, like, there's just, I don't think, enough motivation here. In a lot of ways, this highlights the procedural, cut and paste, tiled concept that Fallout and Bethesda games became known for, where you would make a character model and then use it over and over again, or make a 3D tile of dirt or a tile of a building and use it over and over again to make a world feel like it's a lot bigger, when there isn't actually any bespoke artisan creations happening here. Everybody looks like a peasant except for this guy. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Without voice acting, I don't want to read this dialogue. I just don't. So let's see how much of this game we can really squeeze out of what is effectively just going to be a quick look, a spotlight. Um, yeah, and if that is Shady Sands, then we know this is pretty much the entirety of the game. That you have some town maps that are fairly small and maybe not even accurate. And then you have an overworld that is fairly small. If it's anything like Fallout 3, I imagine there's going to be sections of the... How do we get out of here? Every time you move, it's taking up time. I imagine there are going to be sections of the world that you just cannot access because there's going to be too much radiation or too much danger. Let's see. I couldn't even get in to Fallout to the thing. Like the right click and then left click interface. It's just like I'm very much struggling to figure out which of the different icons I'm cycling through with the right click. And I don't know where my health is, so I don't know if my luck is just really high and I picked the stats right or not, but yeah. It's taken me 40 minutes really in trying to figure out this game to just realize that I was cycling between different modes with the right click button. And unfortunately, this isn't really a game where you oh, I guess I would have switched to that. It's really not a game where you would have where if you put in something like Joy to Key and mapped keyboard inputs to a gamepad, that still wouldn't really fix it. Our HP is down to 5. It's down to 2. Okay.
Your life ends in the wasteland.
Apparently there's a lot of these endings, although that is a fairly generic ending. Yeah. I tried, I guess is what I say here. I didn't try that hard. But yeah, I see how people could have liked this game if they played it day one when it came out, particularly if they were a PC gamer and they didn't have consoles, Nintendo, Segas, things like that to compare it with. This is a very different style of game compared to what would have been available on consoles at the same time. This is more of that high-minded Dungeons and Dragons concept of creating an RPG character and role-playing as the character, and it's one of these games that requires just a real love for reading, and you certainly see that in like the Skyrim books later on, where there is still a significant number of people who love Skyrim for reading the books, whereas I think the newer audience of people brought into a game like Skyrim probably not that interested in reading books. Personally, I am not interested in trying to read out every single little dialogues, considering how the resolution is low, considering how I'm I play games with a TV that's 10 feet away. If I had a monitor right in front of my face, maybe I could do it a little bit better. Critically, I imagine it would be fairly hard to continuously try and criticize this game, because I bet there's not really that much to it. You're going to be given quests, you're going to achieve those quests, there's going to be a storyline. The storyline is not going to be too crazy. If it's anything like Fallout 3, generally speaking, really didn't have an amazing story or anything like that. It has a different story. It is an interesting universe, certainly, in the world it tries to build, and if you really get invested in it, you can find some things that are interesting. But yeah, I don't think this is the real entryway. I think the answer to the question that I tried to pose, and maybe didn't actually pose at the beginning of this spotlight, was, is it necessary to play these older style of games that are completely different art styles, completely different gameplay styles, don't have voice acting, don't have good controller inputs? And unfortunately the answer is no, it's not. Like, maybe if they made a remake of this, I would check it out. It would make a lot of sense for them to make a remake, sell it for like $20, $25, use Unreal Engine, make it an experiment, have your B team work on it. You only have to remake it in the general sense that you should start in Vault 13 and have the same goal and hit the same major beats, but generally you would still need an open world, and you would still need more random encounters than what we saw, a much bigger map, maybe a more interactive map too. That being said, Fallout 4 also kind of went crazy with the amount of things you can do in the world that don't really connect to the main story. And some of these role-playing games are getting kind of silly in how many just side things you can do, such as base building and decorating your base. But yeah, nobody really complained about Fallout 4 because of the base building and base defense and decorating of the base. If anything, people kind of liked that addition. They more complained about Fallout 4 still being as buggy as Fallout 3, and it having just kind of a weak story, which all the Fallout series has kind of had a weak story. It starts from the premise of you're going to be in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, and no matter what you do, you're still going to be in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. They can't jump forward 100 years and say it's slightly less post-apocalyptic, or that the world has rebuilt. It has to stay this way forever, and they painted themselves in the corner because of that. Anyways, that's going to be it for this spotlight. I guess next we'll try and look at Fallout 2, and we'll almost certainly come to the same conclusion. It's probably not worth playing Fallout 2 either, and then we'll jump over to Fallout 3 would be my guess. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you could friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list. I probably should address, this is probably like the worst spotlight I've ever made, and I kind of knew I was going to do this if I couldn't get into the game. Like, I don't think it's too different from what a lot of people's experience would be, particularly with the Steam no questions asked 2-hour refund. I could see a lot of people playing for less than an hour and giving up, but I definitely did not see anything in the first 30 minutes of gameplay to make me want to play another 30 minutes, whereas normally in a game I would try a lot harder to give it a chance. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good evening.